You're just dead weight. My stepdad spat as he threw my stuff on the lawn. My mother sipped her coffee and said, "Let him learn the hard way." But 11 years later, they walked into my office. Like nothing ever happened. They had no idea what was waiting on the other side of that door. I was kicked out of my own home with a trash bag full of clothes and my stepdad's voice still ringing in my ears. "You're just dead weight. You'll be nothing without us." It was the middle of August. Hot. Humid. The kind of day where the air felt sticky and your skin clung to your shirt. I remember it so clearly because I had sweat dripping down my back as I stood on the front lawn, watching the door slam shut behind me like a final decision. No phone. No money. No friends to call. My stepdad had made sure I had no one left by that point. He'd been working on isolating me for years. See, he married my mom when I was 12. At first, he pretended to care. He took me to baseball games, showed me how to change oil, even called me son. But something shifted when I turned 15. Maybe it was because I got taller than him. Maybe it was because I started questioning things. Or maybe he just got bored pretending to be a good man. He started picking at me. Said I was lazy, weak, that no real man played piano or read books, that I was embarrassing him in front of the neighbors. He'd say it loud, in front of my mom. And she'd bite her lip and say nothing. Then came the chores as punishment phase. He'd assign me grown man labor, digging holes for no reason, repainting the garage twice, washing his truck at 2 in the morning because it had a streak. If I said anything, he'd throw my stuff outside and tell me I could live on the street if I didn't like his rules. I think part of him wanted me to talk back, just so he could justify snapping. But that day, my high school graduation day, was different. I'd just come back from picking up my diploma. Still had my cap in my hands. I walked in the door thinking maybe, just maybe, this moment would soften things. That maybe they'd say they were proud of me, even just a little. Instead, my stepdad stood in the hallway, arms folded, and said, "So what now? You gonna sit around here eating our food all summer like a leech?" I blinked. "I'm applying for jobs. I have interviews next week." He cut me off. "You're 18. Time to sink or swim." My mom peeked around the corner, holding a cup of coffee like she'd been listening the whole time. "Maybe it's for the best," she muttered. And just like that, they told me to pack my stuff. It took me less than 10 minutes to grab what I could. Some clothes, my old beat-up laptop, a few notebooks. I left the rest. No one stopped me. No one said goodbye. And when I turned back for one last look, my mom had already gone back to watching TV. That night, I slept behind a dumpster behind a 24-hour pharmacy. I used my graduation gown as a blanket. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't angry at the world. I was angry at myself for believing they ever saw me as family. I spent the next 2 weeks moving from one spot to another, trying not to be seen. If you've never been homeless, let me tell you, it's not just about where to sleep. It's about how to disappear, how to avoid cops, avoid people, avoid questions, how to stay invisible while still surviving. I ate from gas station bins. I washed my face in restaurant bathrooms. I drank tap water from behind a church. I started to understand how quickly a human being can be stripped down to something basic, something raw. You stop thinking about goals. You start thinking about survival in 10-minute windows. I got jumped on the 5th night. 3 guys. Didn't even take anything. Just stomped me for sport. One of them laughed while kicking me and said, "You got nothing worth taking anyway." They were right. I had nothing. No ID, no job history, no one to call. And the worst part, I still check my phone every day, hoping my mom would text. Just one message. Something. Anything. Nothing ever came. It was in front of a rundown garage that things started to change. There was this mechanic shop, Tony's Auto and Tire, across the street from a laundromat. I used to sit near the dumpster behind the place and pretend I worked there just so people wouldn't kick me off the property. I memorized their hours. I watched how they ran the shop. I even picked up the way the older guys cursed when a wrench slipped and scraped their knuckles. One of them, this thick-armed dude with grease always smeared on his cheeks, noticed me after a while. His name was Ramon. He caught me filling my water bottle from their hose. I froze, bracing for him to yell. Instead, he said, "You hungry?" I didn't speak. He threw a sandwich in my direction anyway and went back to smoking. Next day, I was back. He tossed me another sandwich. Still no questions. By the 3rd day, he asked, "You sleeping back there?" I nodded. He squinted. "You clean?" I said yeah. He nodded back. "Good. You can crash on my couch." But you sweep the shop every morning, capiche? I didn't even think about it. I just said yes. I would have done anything. That couch was heaven compared to the pavement. It smelled like cigarettes and old leather, but it was warm. Ramon didn't talk much about my past, and I didn't ask about his. But I noticed the way he moved around his house like a man who'd once had a family and didn't anymore. Every night, I'd help him close the shop, and we'd sit on his porch drinking off-brand soda while he worked through his bills. He'd mutter things like, "This business is a sinking boat," or, "I'm getting too old to be poor." One night, I asked him why he kept it open. Why not sell? He looked at me like I'd said something stupid. Because this shop is the last thing that's mine. I built it. No one can take it. No one. Then he paused and added, "No one's coming to save you, kid. You build your own damn boat." That sentence hit me harder than any of the beatings I'd taken behind the pharmacy. I didn't sleep much that night. Instead, I sat on that couch, staring at the ceiling and thinking for the first time in weeks, maybe I don't need to wait for someone to care. Maybe I just need to start building, even if I had to do it with nothing but scraps. I started sweeping Ramon's shop before the sun came up. By noon, I was helping with tire rotations and handing off tools. He never paid me, just food, a place to crash, and lessons I didn't realize were lessons until years later. But at night, when the shop closed and he crashed on his recliner, I borrowed his old laptop. Thing had a cracked screen, missing keys, and the fan sounded like a lawnmower. But it worked, and Ramon didn't mind, as long as I didn't get into weird **T. I'd walk across the street to the laundromat and sit on the curb just close enough to steal their Wi-Fi. I started watching YouTube tutorials. Everything from how to sell on eBay to basic HTML coding to how to build a Shopify store. At first, it was just curiosity. But then I noticed something. Auto parts, even used junk, sold well. People were paying good money for stuff we threw away. A dented muffler here, a slightly worn carburetor there. I asked Ramon if I could take some of the scraps from the back and list them online. He shrugged. If someone's dumb enough to buy it, go ahead. I posted 5 items. For sold within a week. I made $117 in 7 days. That was the first time I felt like I'd earned something on my own. No stepdad. No pity. No one handing it to me. Just me, a Wi-Fi signal, and a pile of metal junk. I reinvested it all. Bought a cheap domain, set up a basic online store, and called it Deadweight Customs. Yeah, deadweight. Same exact phrase my stepdad used when he threw me out. It became a fire under my ribs. Every order felt like a punchback. Every good review. A reminder I wasn't useless. I wasn't disposable. I wasn't what they said I was. Over the next year, I built something out of nothing. Learned how to write product descriptions that sold. Learned to edit photos. Spent hours figuring out shipping and inventory. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. Not Ramon. Not the guys at the shop. Just kept sweeping floors by day and building a business by night. At 20, I registered the LLC. Used my first tax return to buy a cheap used van. Started driving to junkyards, buying bulk salvage, and flipping it online. Ramon noticed. One night, he raised an eyebrow and said, "You got a hustle going, huh?" I just nodded. Trying. He smirked, tossed me his extra shop key, and said, "Don't forget where you started." I never did. By 21, I had a small rented space of my own, not a real office yet, just a storage unit with a laptop and shelves. But it was mine. Every bolt, every greasy label, every dinged-up part in that place was a brick in the foundation I was laying. And every single day, the words, "You'll never be anything without us," pushed me further. They still didn't call, but I knew they'd hear about me eventually. By the time I turned 23, Deadweight Customs had outgrown the storage unit. Orders were stacking up faster than I could ship them. I hired my first part-time packer, a guy named Malik who used to be a bike courier, and we ran that tiny warehouse like it was Amazon HQ. One of my listings went viral on a car forum, a customized rusted tailpipe with a twisted flame logo. Some guy with a huge YouTube channel featured it in a mod video and called it grungy but genius. That video alone brought in almost 700 orders in a month. That was the tipping point. I reinvested everything. No vacations, no fancy stuff. Just shelves, tools, a barcode scanner, and cheap banners I printed with my logo on them. I kept my head down and let the noise build slowly. Eventually, the local small business network picked it up. Some blogger did a write-up called "From Scraps to Startup," the auto parts kid who built his own empire. I didn't even know it had been published until I got a DM on Facebook. Is this really you? The guy from Bellwood? Deadweight Customs. The name on the message made my chest freeze up. Melissa Jensen. She lived 3 houses down from us when I was a kid. We rode the same school bus, played tag in the street, and her dad used to fix our lawnmower when it broke. I hadn't seen her since the day I got kicked out. She moved away for college. Never really kept in touch. I messaged back. Yeah, that's me. What? She replied instantly. Your name was in the newspaper. My mom saw it and asked if you were that Daniel. The one from Myrtle Avenue. I said, yeah. You might want to know, your mom saw it too. I stared at the screen for a long time. She added. She looked kind of shocked. Just thought you'd want to know. That night, I laid in bed in my 1-bedroom apartment above the shop and replayed that sentence over and over in my head. She looked shocked. What was she shocked about? That I was still alive? That I wasn't panhandling behind a gas station? That I'd done something with the name they tried to bury? Melissa and I messaged for a bit after that. She told me her mom still lived in the neighborhood, still went to the same grocery store where my mom worked part-time. Stepdad had apparently been on and off jobs for years, mostly manual labor. Drinking hadn't slowed down either. I didn't say much in return. I didn't ask how they were. I wasn't curious. Not in a hope they were okay way. I just wanted to see how far I'd come from the version of me they left behind. And it turned out pretty far. Still, part of me couldn't stop wondering. Was this just a coincidence? A one-time thing? Or was it the first ripple? Because when people start realizing the useless kid made something of himself, the silence usually doesn't last. It started like any other Tuesday. Orders lined up, phones buzzing, Malik yelling from the back about a mislabeled crate. I was elbow deep in a refund ticket when my receptionist poked her head in the office and said, Hey, there's a couple out front asking for you. Didn't catch their names. Said it was personal. I get that a lot. Customers, old classmates, even the occasional investor who really just wants a free engine block. But when I stepped out to the front desk and saw them, I knew. My stepdad stood there in a wrinkled button-up shirt, tucked into jeans that were one size too tight. He held a manila folder under one arm and had that same tight-lipped expression I remembered from when he used to bark at me to mow the lawn at 6 a.m. And next to him was my mother. Hair thinner, face lined, but still unmistakably her. The way she avoided my eyes was all I needed to know this wasn't a happy reunion. I didn't speak first. I just crossed my arms and waited. He cleared his throat. Danny, it's been a while. That voice, that fake casual tone, the same one he used when talking to cops or teachers. The kind he used when trying to seem like a reasonable man. I said nothing, just stared. He went on. We saw you in the paper. Heard you've done well for yourself. Congrats. Really? Still, I said nothing. My mom glanced at him, then back at me. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then finally spoke. We didn't expect all this. We're proud of you. Proud. That word. Like she thought it would patch 10 years of silence. He stepped forward a little. I've been between jobs for a while now. The economy's rough, and, well, I thought maybe, with your company doing well, maybe you had a spot for someone like me. I've got experience with tools, logistics, that kind of stuff. He said it like I owed him a shot. Like this was just another favor between family. As if we'd had barbecues and game nights and holidays that didn't end with slammed doors and bruised ribs. I looked at both of them, slowly, from their worn shoes to their hopeful eyes. Then I said the only thing I'd prepared for a decade. Why would I hire deadweight? The silence hit like a brick. His face twitched. My mother flinched. I saw the exact moment they realized I hadn't forgotten. That I hadn't forgiven. That they didn't get to rewrite the story. He opened his mouth to respond, but I was already walking back toward my office. Before I went in, I turned one last time and said, You told me no one would ever want me. You were right about one thing. No one who sees what I'm worth now would ever hire you. Then I shut the door and left them standing there, surrounded by walls I built myself. They didn't come back after that. No calls. No emails. No fake apologies. And honestly, I didn't expect any. That visit wasn't about reconnection. It was desperation wearing polite shoes. The next week, I upgraded our office. Leased a new warehouse with a glass-walled meeting room and enough space for double the inventory. Hired 2 new people. Got the team matching jackets, just for fun. Business kept growing. We started supplying parts for small dealerships, even custom builds for YouTubers. The brand took off. Deadweight Customs wasn't just a joke anymore. It was an identity. A reminder that I had value even when no one else could see it. Sometimes people ask if I ever reconnected with them, if I ever went home. But I don't think they understand. There is no home to go back to. The house I grew up in was just wood and walls. The people inside made it feel like a place I had to escape. And once you've built something with your own hands, something that feeds people, gives them jobs, keeps them moving, that becomes your home. I still think about Ramon. He passed away a few years after I moved out. Heart attack. Quiet. No big ceremony. Just a folded flag and a rusty toolbox in the corner of the shop. I kept that toolbox. It's sitting on a shelf in my office today. People think it's decoration. It isn't. It's the only father figure I ever had. The man who gave me a couch, a sandwich, and the words that became my foundation. No one's coming to save you. You build your own damn boat. So I did. And when that boat finally pulled into harbor, the people who tried to drown me were standing there, cold, wet, and empty-handed, hoping for a ride. But I'd already sailed too far. The truth is, success didn't taste sweet. It tasted like engine grease, cold sandwiches, missed birthdays, and aching knees. It tasted like silence. And then it tasted like freedom. Not the kind they teach you about. The kind you earn by surviving people who tried to break you. I didn't write this to flex. I wrote it because I know someone else is reading this from a park bench or a back alley or a stranger's couch, thinking they're worth nothing. You're not. You're just not in the right chapter yet. So turn the page. And keep building. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.